Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the application webinar for the fiscal year 2023 OVW Disability Grant Program. The Office of Violence Against Women, which I will refer to as OVW, is convening this webinar to go over this year's solicitation for this program. Again, my name is Kara Mahler, and I'm one of the program specialists for this program, and I'm this year's point of contact for the solicitation. During this session, I will cover highlights of the solicitation. However, this is not intended to go over every aspect of that document. All applicants are responsible for reading the entire solicitation, for reading the solicitation in its entirety and ensuring that a complete application is completed. The goals of today's webinar are to help you understand the program, grant requirements, and how to apply. The purpose of the Disability Grant Program is to create permanent changes within and among the organizations in your collaboration that result in more accessible, safe, and effective services for survivors with disabilities and deaf survivors. So what does this mean? There is a history of victim service providers and disability service providers working in different avenues from different frameworks and not having the strongest of relationships. They've historically been two different fields with different foundations and approaches for the communities they're serving. Through this program, we will bring together disability organizations and the domestic violence and sexual assault providers to work together in a truly collaborative nature at the intersections. This is really about doing something new with a focus on building internal infrastructure of the organizations involved. And that is where the time will be spent for this grant program, and what will truly lead to safe and accessible services for people with disabilities and deaf individuals. So this is a program that creates change within organizations. Most of the work that you will do will focus internally and not externally. So you will not be going out into the community. You will not be going out and doing trainings. And this is definitely not a direct services grant. It is about everybody, the whole group involved, making changes, identifying organizational changes, learning together and from each other, and building an approach that can be sustained with all the organizations in the collaboration. This is really about positioning yourselves so you can go out into the community to provide safe services in a safe, informed manner. In order to achieve these goals, it is important you have the right partners and organizations involved. And by this, I mean the partners directly related to the problem that you've identified that you will address. And it means having the right number of partners. We won't tell you how many partners to have, but history has shown that projects with fewer partners are more successful, narrowing it down to who's most crucial to solve that problem that will be addressed. And again, this is a program about collaboration and making changes. And like I said, this is not a direct services grant. This is not a funding source for projects already in the works that you want to fund. This is truly about something different and new. At its core, is building a foundation to provide safe and accessible services in the future. It's an investment in your partnership so you can succeed later. For the first 3-year grant, you will follow a prescribed process, which is divided into 2 phases. The first part is where you are developing the documents and following the processes as outlined in the solicitation. And then the second part is where you will implement what you came up with through that first phase. And as you go through this process, you will be participating in intense technical assistance provided by the OVW designated technical assistance provider. This participation with TA is mandatory and a crucial part of our program. Before I go on, Amy, do you have anything else to add here?
No, this is Amy. I think you did an excellent job, Carol.
Thank you. I'm going to pause for a minute. That was a lot of information, and some of it I will go into in more detail and break down. But before I go any further, I do want to see if there's any questions at this time. Okay, again, we'll open it. I'll have other opportunities for questions and I will be elaborating along the way. Just let us know.
Carol, you do have a question. It is,
okay.
How long do you anticipate each phase will be?
Okay, yep, I will talk about the phases later on, but I'll go ahead and answer now. Again, we're mostly talking right now about the first 3-year grant, so new applicants. And the first phase, the planning and development phase, is about 12 months, about a year to a year and a half, with the implementation phase usually the last half of the grant. Thank you for your questions, and please ask anything else anyone has. Thank you. So I will talk in more detail about the application process, but this is so important because these are the deadlines for the application, and I'll go over the process again later. But just to point out, the grants.gov deadline will be March 6th at 11:59 p.m. with the Just Grants deadline March 9th at 9 p.m. Please don't forget that. And again, I will go over what this means later on as well. It's just really important to point this out. So this slide summarizes all sort of the eligibility requirements in sort of 3 tiers. The first are the types of applicants. Who is eligible to apply? Eligible applicants are states, units of local government, tribal governments or organizations, and victim service providers. In addition to being a type of eligible applicant to apply for this program, the project itself must either be local focused or state focused. A local or tribal focused project should consist of a collaborative team composed solely of local, tribal, or community-based organizations, such as a Center for Independent Living, community health organizations, rape crisis centers, domestic violence, sexual assault programs. And grant activities will focus within and between those local organizations represented on the local team. A state-focused project will consist of a collaborative team composed solely of organizations that operate on a state level, such as a state independent living council or a state or tribal domestic violence or sexual assault coalition. A state-focused project may concentrate efforts between the organizations on this collaboration, or they may actually focus on 1 or 2 communities within the states as pilot projects, as pilot sites. It's important to note there is no mixing and matching here. It's either all local or all statewide. They must be all local or state. Again, there cannot be a mix. And then lastly, the required partnerships. At a very minimum, the multidisciplinary collaborative team must consist of at least 1 victim service provider or tribal organization serving victims of domestic violence, dating violence, stalking, or sexual assault, and at least 1 nonprofit, non-governmental organization or tribal organization serving individuals with disabilities or deaf individuals. Applications must meet all 3 of these requirements. If not, the applications will be removed from consideration. For example, you may be a state organization eligible to apply, and you may have the required partners that include a victim service provider and disability service provider, but you've included local partners. This makes you now no longer eligible to go further. So please make sure you understand these 3 requirements. Funds under this program must be used for one of the 8. Yes.
I don't mean to, there's a question in here that I just wanted to say. So it reads, if the focus of our collaborative team will be local, can a statewide organization be the applicant and be the coordinator of the partnership, even though we have a statewide focus?
If you don't mind me asking, I guess I'm having a hard time. If you have a statewide focus, it seems like you have me saying in the beginning that the focus is local, but at the end it says the focus is statewide. So I'm having a little bit of difficulty understanding.
Yeah.
If you don't feel bad joining on camera, maybe you can elaborate a little more.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Sorry, I'm having some camera issues. This is Suzanne Saza. Yes, I was just wondering if there was a statewide coalition organization that was the applicant. Would it be possible to have a local partnership? So all of the partners would be local in focus, but the statewide organization would actually be the applicant. Is that acceptable, or does the lead applicant also have to be a local organization?
And the lead would have to also be local.
Okay, so anyone involved in the project would have to have a local focus.
So it's either a local focus with all local community organizations or a statewide focus with all statewide organizations. And there can't be mixing.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
I believe there's other versions of the question coming in.
There are other questions, and I can either read them aloud to you, or if you all want to ask them yourself, you can do so.
I'm happy to ask my question. I put one in there about, so we have a group of folks locally who are interested in working together, but there's also someone who's just outside of our service area who's done a lot of work both locally and nationally, trying to center survivors with disabilities. And we'd hope to bring her in kind of on a consulting basis, and wanted to know if that would be allowed. She would be coming to our local community.
I'm going to let Amy Loader answer that question.
If
I believe the answer is no, but I think that she can clarify what that means and why.
If I understand correctly, oh, sorry, here, let me put my camera on. Sorry about that. If I understand it correctly, you're a local focus, but there is an individual who has done a lot of state, national, local
Right.
work that you would like to include in your project for their expertise as
Right.
a consultant. No, so
Okay.
the people that are on your multidisciplinary collaborative team should be MOU signers. That
Right.
they should be there every single meeting, every single step of the way, because this project is about equal responsibility, equal authority, equal accountability. So I think that if the person is, I think it would need to fit, and you would have to justify why this person is involved in the project and why it is not just the organizations that you have already identified. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
It does. I just want to make sure if we include information about this person who, like, both, like, I represent the sexual assault service provider and the disability service provider. Both of us have worked with her previously. And so we were hoping to have her be part of this process, and she's very interested, but I also don't want to weaken our application by adding her in based on some of this feedback.
Sure. I mean, I will say that if you are a multidisciplinary team partner, you are expected to make changes within your own organization.
Absolutely.
So I'm not sure having like a consultant as a partner is necessarily the exact fit, if that makes sense.
Sure. No, that's helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a good question, so thank you.
And there was one just before this one. Sakina had also put a question in the chat. And Sakina, I don't know if you would like me to read your question or if you would like to ask the question yourself.
Sure, I can ask it myself. So our state has already conducted a needs assessment on the same, topic through another grant. And although it's not the same program, it's through OVW. And it was, I think, through the STOP program, and we were a sub-grantee for that. I'm wondering if, since we've already done that, but we are a new state on this grant, would it be okay if we skip that as part of the phase 1 activities?
I'll take this one. So yes, we would, as hard as it may be, you would be asked to put that aside and start fresh.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that could be hard, but it really is about coming to the table and going through the process new with your core collaboration that you'll start and as much as you may have some sort of concept of maybe things you think are going on, that you kind of let that go and kind of meet together and start really that conversation brand new.
Perfect. Good to know. Thank you so much.
And Kara, we have a question from Christy, but also we have Courtney's hand up. So I'm not sure which one came first, but Courtney, why don't you go? And then Christy, if you wanted to voice your question, or if you would like me to read the question, we can go after Courtney, I believe.
Yeah. Hi, I'm so sorry. My team still cannot understand if we're eligible. So I work at a local victim services agency. However, my colleague Allie runs the deaf services program, which is statewide, but housed in a local agency. We're looking to partner with the Deaf Advocacy Project, which is statewide. So we cannot get Claire. We don't understand if we're eligible.
Can you say that again, Courtney? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was a little hard.
Yes, so I'm with a local DV agency in New Jersey, so a county specific.
Okay.
Within our agency, we have a deaf services program, but that program works statewide with any survivor in New Jersey.
Yep.
But it's just housed in our agency. we're collaborating with the Deaf Advocacy Project, which is statewide in New Jersey. So we
Oh.
don't know if we are eligible.
Yeah, no, this is a tough one. So what is, so it is this a state disability organization or like the State Independent Living Center? Is that who you're partnering with?
The Deaf Advocacy Project is under the New Jersey Coalition to End Domestic Violence. So they're
Okay.
capacity building, TA.
Oh, so you're a coalition, and then, and are you saying that the deaf project or program is the disability or the DV partner? Or are there three organizations or two that you're talking about?
There's two organizations. One is local, but within that local agency, our deaf program serves survivors statewide because we're the only agency to do direct work for deaf survivors in New Jersey.
So the victim services part is mostly local, but the deaf part of the program offers services statewide. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Are you the same organization or are you the coalition?
We want to collaborate with the coalition.
Oh, but you're a local organization.
Correct.
Yeah,
I don't think that would be
I think
allowed.
we need to talk to you offline because I'd like to understand a little bit more. Would it be okay if you and Kara and I spoke offline?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can, Amy, would you mind? I can't see the chat because I'm not very good at technology. Can you put the ovw.disabilities email in the box? So anybody who wants to meet one-on-one after or ask questions separately, they can always reach out.
Okay. And then I want to read Christy's question. So hers is, can you expand at some point about what constitutes a disability service provider? Does disability services have to be a primary focus or one component of the program? Carol, would you like to answer that?
Oh,
do you want
I'm sorry. I mean, you can. I was just rereading it. You can answer that one.
Are you sure?
I mean, my understanding is it has to be the primary purpose. It has to be, it's disability is the organization. Like that is the purpose. It's not, we happen to have a disability project or we have some expertise. It's that you are by nature of who you are, a disability service provider. Did that answer the question?
Yes. And I don't see any more questions at this time, Kara, so I think you can go ahead.
So funds under this program must be used for one or more of the 8 purpose areas that are outlined in the solicitation. Please review this section on page 6 of the solicitation. But for new applicants, which is primarily the audience today, you do not have to identify which purpose area that you will be addressing because you will be going through, as I said before, and I'll say multiple times going forward, you'll be following a predetermined structured process that ends up covering most of those purpose areas. As a reminder, your entire 3 years of grant period of activities is following this process. I can't say this enough. I want to be very clear about expectations. But for continuation applicants who may be on the call today, these are people who finished the first 3-year grant and are now applying again for funding. You must now, for the first time, identify which purpose areas the project will address. So that's a little bit new for you. If you're coming out of your first grant and your continuation, this time you will be identifying which purpose areas, and it must be following one of the 8 purpose areas. OVW does not fund activities that compromise victim safety and recovery or undermines offender accountability. So examples of these activities that would not be funded are procedures or policies that compromise confidentiality of information and or the privacy of the persons receiving services, or partnering with individuals or organizations that support or promote practices that compromise victim safety. But for a full list, please see the solicitation companion guide for additional information. We also will not fund the identified out of scope activities, such as research projects or formal surveys. There only may be a small use of surveys that will be allowed, but they're built into the structured process and we'll be very involved and we'll be aware and let you know what's allowed there. Because surveys outside of that structured process are, again, not allowed. Other out of scope activities include stuff like public service campaigns or projects that focus on children. These are not allowed. Period means But what is sort of allowed here is a very nominal amount of money spent on light refreshments for participants with disabilities to attend things like when we do the needs assessment portion of this project. And again, when I say nominal, I mean a total of about $150 for light beverages. And again, it's to really provide that for your participants with disabilities when they're attending what we'll be doing in the needs assessment. Under this grant program, recipients do not host conferences. It just really doesn't happen. But since it's a cooperative agreement, you will actually see that on your grant conditions if you're awarded. But we just want to be clear from the upfront that this is not an activity that you will be doing. This year, fiscal year 2023, the following OVW priorities are being addressed. Application proposing the following areas may be given special consideration during the funding recommendation process. Those applications that propose to advance racial equity as an essential component of ending sexual assault, domestic violence, dating violence, and stalking must include a culturally specific organization as a member of that core team, as a member of your multidisciplinary collaborative team. And that means an organization that's by and for a racial ethnic minority group. These are members of your collaboration, full members that will be equally compensated and have an equal part and role in the part of the project. Then those applications proposing to address the priority area of strengthening responses to sexual assault must include a sexual assault service provider as part of the multidisciplinary collaboration team. And if it's sexual assault with that partnership, those are your partners on the project, the focus of your project will be sexual assault. Please note that these are optional to be part of. These priority areas are not mandatory, and there'll be no additional points. But if you meet the requirement, if you want to attempt to go for them, you may be given special consideration during the funding recommendation process. Now, this is an important slide. Awards will be made in a cooperative agreement. Most of you are probably more aware or familiar with grants, where you propose a set of activities, you get your money, and that's what you implement. But this is not how this is working. This is a cooperative agreement. This is not that. A cooperative agreement is a form of award under which OVW expects to have ongoing substantial involvement in the award activity. So substantial involvement, what would that mean? Substantial involvement includes participating in project meetings, help developing or approving final agendas, reviewing and approving faculty, products, curricula, identifying participants. Recipients of this award, this grant program, must be willing to work closely with OVW on the implementation of their project and be willing to modify activities at our request. This is a much more intense type of award or relationship with OVW. If selected for funding, again, you'll have high involvement with us. You'll be talking to us quite a lot. And because this is a cooperative agreement, OVW has made participation in technical assistance mandatory. If funded, you will work intensely with the disability technical assistance provider. And this slide covers the thresholds of the timeframes and periods and amounts. So new state-focused projects are for 36 months with the amount of funding allowed is up to $500,000. For new local or tribal focused projects that are also 36 months with the award amount of up to $425,000. Continuation projects with a state focus are for 24 months, but in the amount of $400,000. And local continuation projects are up to the amount of $325,000. So again, local new programs, whether they're local or state, are 36 months, and continuation applications are for 24 months. As I referenced earlier, and I'll say it again throughout this presentation, is that we have developed a framework which you will follow. This is outlined in the solicitation on pages 11 through 13. This outlines what you will literally be doing under this grant program. For new projects, as we talked about, you'll be going through two phases: the planning and development phase, and the implementation phase. During the planning and development phase, you'll be led through a process with the OVW designated technical assistance provider. And through that process, you're going to create the following: a collaboration charter, project focus memo, need assessment plan and tools, a need assessment report, and a strategic plan. At the end of the planning and development phase, you will have that strategic plan, and then that is what you will implement during the implementation phase. What is in that strategic plan that you came up with in that first phase? So some of the things that people come up with in their strategic plan that they would like to move on and work on are developing policies, organizational policies around accessibility, developing trainings for their own staff or cross trainings amongst their partners. And I know this sounds like a lot, but this is why we provide so much technical assistance along to guide you through this process. And because you're making policy and budget decisions about what you'll be doing with your organizations, it is absolutely imperative that there is decision maker participation from all the organizations involved. Because change occurs within and among the organizations, not just some of the organizations, all the ones involved. Decision maker participants from each organization must be involved. Your project will be going through this process together as that collaboration. As I said in slide 3, the purpose of this program is to create safe, accessible services for individuals with disabilities and deaf individuals. It is through the process, looking internally in the collaboration, that you're building this concrete foundation. Again, this is why we have the planning and development phase. This is why we require decision makers from each organization to participate, and why technical assistance is required. We want you to do something different. Again, this is not our typical grant program. As a reminder, we're not asking what you're going to be doing in the project proposal when you're new, because this process is what you will be doing. For continuation applicants, you already know the mandatory program requirements. What's different for you this time around is that you will start to work on a critical assessment, going over to ensure what you proposed is still appropriate at this time. You will identify now which activities you'll work on and which purpose areas they fall under. Of course, the decision makers are still participating, and technical assistance, while not absolutely required, is strongly encouraged and offered continually. That was a lot of information about the program, so I just want to pause for a second and see if there's any questions.
Kara, I'm going to give people a question to type and raise their hands, but I wanted to let you know some questions were coming in the chat that I answered in the chat. So I just wanted just to keep the flow, and so that we wouldn't. But one of them was, will you fund more than one project in the state if there's already a disability grantee in their state? And I said, yes, we absolutely would. That is not an issue of concern. There was another one question that came in and said, if we are a deaf and hard of hearing, deaf-blind victim service agency that is statewide, would we, and we partnered with like a coalition, which is also statewide, does that meet the requirements? And I said, it sounds like it, but I think that it would be good to reach out to you specifically so that you know who the organizations are that are applying, so that we can make sure that they are indeed eligible. You know, sometimes it's hard to know without exactly who you're speaking to, and we just want to make sure that you do not spend time on an application if you haven't met the eligibility requirements. There was another one asking about whether or not partners can come, like, join the project, you know, midpoint through the organizations can join midway through the partnership or through the partner project. Sorry, it's the end of the day for me. And I said, it's not really typical that we do this, that, you know, if you're going to be an organization implementing the plan, you should do so, be present the entire time, because it's also really hard to establish a true collaborative relationship if the partnership keeps changing. And then we have some new questions. And I can read these out, or you can voice them if you want, but I don't see any hands, so I might as well just voice. So here it is from Christina. How long is the planning phase? Can we use the time the first year as a planning phase, or does the planning phase typically take longer?
So the planning phase can take, I mean, it depends on the organization and how far you get, but it takes at least around a year and can take up to around sometimes 18 months. And again, it's to really go through that 5-tier process of this, you know, the needs assessment, your focus, your collaboration, and ending with a strategic plan. And that generally takes at least a year.
Okay. And then I have a question that is in Spanish, and I do not read Spanish, so if one of the interpreters could please translate for us and ask the question, that would be.
I think it's my understanding of Spanish, it's about interpretation.
Thank you. All right, so then I have another one from Emily. Can you define or give an example of a state agency decision maker.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So a state coalition director, a state coalition maybe deputy director, that would be a representative. Let's say I worked with a state deaf and hard of hearing agency before, and it was the program director. It really has to be somebody who's not just on a lower level, but can go back and say, we have decided that this is where the organization is going to make changes. Like, who has that authority in your organization? Because we not have somebody come and do this whole process and go back and be like, we can't do it. It has to be somebody with the authority and the ability to say, we have decided that we as an organization are going to change our policies, we are as an organization are going to do something totally different and work this way. We are going to dedicate resources and funding for access in this way. So who in the organization represents that ability to make it? So it has to be pretty, it doesn't have to necessarily be the top, especially, but there has to be somebody who has that authority. And Amy, feel free to add more.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Emily, I don't know if you're actually talking about a state agency itself, like say, the DC Department of Health or something. But if that was the case, it would usually state agencies, there's the overall agency, and then there's a lot of, divisions or components that is included with that. So it would be whoever is the head of that division or component. So for example, the Office on Violence Against Women is in the Department of Justice, which is huge. We are not getting permission from the Attorney General every time we want to do something. We have a director of the office. So the decision maker in that situation would be our director or acting. So I hope that answered your question. And you can just let me know if we did not. We have another one from Susan. What is the role of the multidisciplinary team? Is it to participate equally in the process, or does one need to take the lead?
I think I can answer this one if that's okay.
Go.
I think it's best sometimes to answer with an example. So let's say you have a local domestic violence agency, a local disability providing organization, and then a local third partner that is inherently crucial to the need of this focus, right? Those three teams work in total partnership, complete collaboration equally. One, though, has to be the lead applicant, like one has to apply for the funding. And that agency will employ the project director, which we'll talk about during the budget section later. But regardless of that person being the actual direct recipient of the funds, the collaboration is a true multidisciplinary team. So we will have, for example, you'll be required to attend or go bi-weekly meetings throughout the whole 3 years. You're going through this process. These three organizations with their decision makers are going to meet for about a couple of hours every 2 weeks equally, not just one organization's going back and doing all the work on their own. The project director, which we'll talk about later, may take over some of behind the scenes role and report back to the team, but they are working for the 3-part collaboration. So it's not about one organization doing all the change and just telling other people. It's about the 3 coming together, the disability organizations, the victim service provider, maybe a third partner, whoever's crucial, deciding that the 3 of them, how are we going to better serve people with disabilities or deaf individuals internally together as a team?
Mm-hmm. Very good. Yeah. Think equal participation, equal accountability, equal responsibility.
And equal compensation.
And equal compensation, which Kara will get into. So hope that answered your question. Stephanie asked if this recording will be available after this webinar. It is, and I don't have the exact time frame, so we'll leave that toward the end. Okay. I think that is it. Yeah, I think that is it. Okay.
Thank you. These are great questions. Thank you, everyone, for your interest.
Yeah, please ask away. Okay, go ahead, Karen.
Yep. Oops, my script went flying down. Okay. Okay, applications must include the required documents in addition to demonstrating the eligibility requirements that I mentioned earlier. We will not contact applicants for missing items. Applicants that do not include the following documents will be considered substantially incomplete and will not be considered for funding. So the applications must include a proposal narrative, a detailed budget with a budget narrative and a signed memorandum of understanding for the collaboration team, all the partners. And I will now go into those in more detail individually. So the proposal narrative. New applicants, you will outline the purpose of the proposal, which is worth 40 points, and you will outline who will implement the proposal, which is worth 30 points. For the purpose of the proposal, this is where you convey to us like why you're applying for this funding. What is the issue you're seeing in your community? So if you have a large, let's say a large deaf population, but you're not seeing any deaf survivors coming through your domestic violence or sexual assault program, that shows there's a problem. Or for example, if you're representing a disability organization and you're seeing through your work, a number of individuals disclose that they're experiencing sexual assault, but you don't have a response internally, or you see a need response in the community, that would be the problem you're trying to identify to address. Now, you don't have to have the solution. We don't want you to have the solution because you will just identify the issue. Then you will identify who is best needed to address this problem. That is the who will implement, who will make up the collaboration to best address the issue that you're seeing that we talked about in the purpose. And again, I think we've mentioned this earlier, there really is no magic number in terms of how many organizations should be part of your collaboration, but this really shouldn't be just everyone in your community. We know you have lots of community members and partnerships, but for this program, it's really about going deep and having a core group of people to address the problem that you identify. It should be a concise group of those most necessary, because that will allow you to go really deep into things. And again, if you have a bunch of organizations sitting around the table, you really only get to scratch the surface, and that's not the purpose of this program. This is about a collaboration of key organizations who really want to make transformative change in their community to better serve and provide safe services for people with disabilities and deaf individuals. I want to reiterate for new applicants, we do not want you to tell us what you will do, as we already talked about the project activities that will take place during the 2 phases. Applicants should not propose activities beyond those. Typically, in other kinds of programs, applicants are evaluated on what you propose to do, but here I want to reiterate, you'll be evaluated on the problem you identify and bringing together those you want to address it. And again, you will undertake the process we've outlined. For continuation applicants, you should outline the purpose of your proposal, which is worth 20 points, who will implement the proposal, which is worth 15 points, and what will be done. For you, continuation applicants, the what will be done, which is worth 35 points, comes directly from your strategic plan developed under your prior grant funding, your prior cycle. Okay, for your budget, there are some key costs that you should include. There should be a project director, a dedicated person only for this project that's at least or no less than 80% dedicated, if not full-time. But please note, and I will put this outright and will remind you again, if you get funded, please do not hire this person until your budget is cleared and you have been able to interact with your TA provider. Other costs, I cannot stress this enough, is about accommodations. This is the time when you and your partners, this is the time when all of your partners should say, these are the type of accommodations we need. If you know you have people with disabilities on your team, do you have the costs in your budget for accommodations for their full participation? If your project is focusing on the deaf community and your partner is a deaf organization, did you include costs for accommodations and access for deaf staff participants in the project? And in the budget narrative, you may even say, we are not fully determining the exact accommodations needed, but it is anticipated that we will need such things such as X, Y, and Z. You will be doing a needs assessment that I talked about, and you will do that in person. For that, you would want a budget for gift cards because you want to be inclusive of people with disabilities and you should compensate them, but you don't give them cash. So you can give them gift cards to compensate them for their time and travel. This should be nominal, around $25 each. You can also include in your budget the $1 or $2 activation fee. So again, the key things are the project director, money for accommodations, and gift cards to include people with the disabilities to participate in the needs assessment. What you will not be including in your budgets, you will not be including costs for subject matter experts, trainers, or partners coming in later. I know this was discussed earlier. You will not be including costs to address direct services or funding your advocacy programs. You will not be budgeting to attend a bunch of conferences. If anything, maybe at the most, it would be appropriate to send your disability partners to one big sexual assault conference or vice versa. If there's a learning opportunity and it's rare, but maybe sending your victim service providers to a big disability conference. But these would be rare moments. This is not the grant where you'll be going to a bunch of outside trainings. And your budget must show a role for everyone in the budget. We kind of answered this question right before, but when we say collaboration, we mean equal participation, equal accountability, equal responsibility, and that has to be equally compensated. You must compensate your partners in full for their participation. So if you have 3 partners, everyone needs equal compensation. So this is, again, another area which may make you think, like, who's the most important if we're going to have to fully compensate them? How many partners can we really include that's going to be effective and budgeted? And then there's the memorandum of understanding, which is worth 20 points, or the MOU as we refer to it. The MOU, the memorandum of understanding, is developed in response to the solicitation and where you demonstrate the formal partnership we've been talking about. This is your collaboration here, and they're all together in one MOU document. This is only for your collaboration, not other organizations. It doesn't matter if you have a history of working with your partners. This may be the first time you're coming together, which is what this program is for. Just explain that in the memorandum of understanding that this is the first time. Or if you do have some sort of history, explain that as well. But neither one is going to score you better or less. It's just about explaining that to us. And again, this is one document with all your team on it. You should not have separate MOUs for each partner, because again, this is a collaboration, and this is going to be the document that shows the 2 or 3 or 4 people who organizations have signed on to work together all know about each other and all are in agreement together, signing this one document together. Again, that was a lot of information, so I would like to pause and ask if there's questions at this time.
There's one in here. I can read it to you, Kara.
Thank you.
It's from Stephanie. It says, I understand equal compensation and partnership. Can you say more about that as it applies to the organization that pays the cost for the project director?
I'm going to let you take this one, Amy.
Sure. Okay, and hopefully you can hear me better in my microphone. I have 2 screens and I fear that my microphone is off to my left, which is not where my camera is. But so, you know, as Kara said before, there has to be an agency that applies for the grant. And as the agency that is the recipient of the grant, they are responsible for things that their project partners are not responsible for. So obviously they will have more of the grant funds supporting their agency than the partner organization. So they have to employ, you know, the financial pieces and, you know, submitting all the progress reports, the financial reports, the executive director's time, you know, all of that. You will have a larger share of it. Typically, it is not required, but typically the agency that is the grant recipient is the one that employs the project manager. So obviously you have a greater cost over there. So it's not like everybody is getting, you know, 50,000, 50,000, 50,000. What it does mean is that, you know, the applying agency isn't going to get $400,000 and your project partners are going to get 20. Like that, like we will not put your budget through for that because it is a lot of time. This is a more intensive grant, and we ask you to dedicate a lot of time and a lot of work toward it. And so that means that you have to compensate people for their time. So that is what that means. Looks like so the budget of the application needs to be for 12 months. Is that correct? No. So your budget, this is a 3-year award. So you're submitting a budget for 3 years.
Let me find the slide. Hold on. There you go. So these, again, if you're local focused, it's $425,000 for the full 3 years, not per year.
Oh, Christina has her hand raised. Go ahead, Christina.
Yes, hi everyone. My quick question is, if we have to, when we have to do the budget for 3 years, I understand that. But it sounds like we're going to develop a plan and what we need to implement. How would we know this now? What funds are going to be allocated for activities that we haven't decided yet until the strategic plan. That's not clear to me. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I could do that. Or Amy, you want to?
It's up to you, Kara.
Right, so again, the core cost when you come in as a new applicant should really be this dedicated project director. We do know that at one point you'll be doing a needs assessment. We do want you to definitely include accommodations for participants. And again, the structure really is the organization's coming together and meeting regularly. So if there's like local travel, if you're going to meet in person, like those are the core costs. But along the 3 years, again, things will change, right? You're going to develop your strategic plan. You may kind of figure out some activities changing toward the end of the grant period. You would then be allowed, 2 years in to do a budget modification if you need it at that point.
Yeah. And I want to add that, even when you do have specific activities that you've identified, the vast majority of your costs are going to be in staff time, because it's going to be around things like developing policies and procedures to make sure that, the access policies, or ensuring that disability organizations are more responsive to survivors. So a lot of it is time. You're not going to be going out and, doing large conferences or doing these huge campaign events, or like it is, again, this is foundation building stuff. You are positioning yourself in order to be able to, in several years, appropriately serve, appropriately, safely, and culturally appropriately serve survivors of whatever population it is that you are focusing on. It is challenging, but again, most of your costs are going to come in staff time and also in accommodations, which is why we allow you to say, we're going to put aside, X number of dollars for accommodations. We don't know what they are right now, but it could be X, Y, and Z. And it's really important that the disability organization, the victim service organization, have that conversation to realistically say, like, listen, these are the types of accommodations that we need. I don't know exactly what we're going to be using them for entirely, but here's a rough estimate of putting like an earmark. So it is a little hard. If you are selected for an award, there is a lot of back and forth between the program manager and the grantee helping you with that, because we understand that it is very challenging. I hope that was helpful. And there was another similar question to that from Patricia. Said the budget would need to include implementation, but we don't know what that will be.
Amy, you're muddled. You're muddled when you're talking.
Sorry. So how do we budget?
That's better.
Thanks. Most of it is time.
I think there are other questions that came in.
Yeah, from Jaya, confirming that paying for time from leadership involvement is an allowable expense. Kara?
Is it development or
Paying the time for leadership involvement is an
Yes.
allowable expense.
right. So that's the decision maker, right? So
Yep.
let's say you're the lead applicant, you have your 80% time or full-time project director in your staff. You also would have like your deputy director or your leadership person's, 10 hours a week time, your partner's leadership, your 10 hours time. So you'd have, that's your core cost, as Amy said. It is literally the decision maker staff time to attend these meetings and be part of the process.
Yep. Then there's another one from Stephanie. Are Zoom meetings considered allowable for the bi-weekly meetings as opposed to all in-person meetings? Kara,
Sure. I don't know.
do you not know? But yes, when you were in COVID, everybody was meeting via Zoom. So
Right. Yes, but yes, of course, it really is about meeting. If you have to meet virtually, that's fine. But it is about acknowledging that if you do plan on meeting in person and there's local travel, to make sure you do budget for that so that every organization is compensated for that local travel. Is there any other questions at this time?
no, yep,
Yes.
that's to
I
be
have
it.
a hand up, if I may I speak?
Please.
Since we're new to this, we're a new applicant, what would be a reasonable amount to allocate for accommodations?
It's a good question. I will definitely let Amy take this.
I think it depends on what the focus of your project is. You know, if you are a deaf-focused project, I mean, obviously ASL interpreters are an expense, you know, so not only do you want to budget for including deaf individuals in your meetings, you know, because I'm assuming that you would have deaf individuals on your team, so you need to make sure that there is full participation. You know, and then if you wanted to do any type of, maybe you wanted to do, you know, videos, you know, if it's a local project focusing, a local deaf project focusing on, you know, creating videos in sign language for deaf survivors when they come to shelter, you know, like what will be the cost of doing that? So that's why I'm saying it's really important for the victim service organization and the disability organization to say what realistically, what kind of accommodations do we think that we're going to need, and how much do those accommodations cost? Because a deaf organization is going to know how much interpreters cost. And if you know that you're going to be spending, say, 10 hours a month meeting, you know, what is 10 hours a month times 2 interpreters for X number of months, you know, and then add a little bit more to it. So, you know, and honestly, if you don't get it right the first time, as I said, if you are going to receive an award and we're working with you to modify your budget, please know almost every new grantee has to modify their budget before the award is done. You know, we can fix it.
Right. I just want to add, again, these are estimates, like to meet the requirements, to make sure that we understand that you kind of know what you're getting into and go forward. But like the particular details we can work out with you if you're selected for funding.
Okay, may I speak? I have another question, please. You know, we serve a very rural, very poor area, and our thoughts on accommodations were, yes, I understand the ASL deaf and interpreter, but having basic needs of ramps and bathroom accessibilities in shelters, which our shelters do not have. So things like that. So I'm just wondering, can I budget for that in the first year, or do I need to wait for the second and third year for accommodations after the strategic plan has been developed? Thank you.
It's a good question.
Kara, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I'll let you answer that.
Okay, so a ramp and bathroom would most likely not be allowable. We allow for minor renovations, and I'm going to be very honest with you. Minor renovations can be something such as painting. It could be as much as even changing a doorknob on a door because of the historic preservation and the environmental preservation acts. So I would strongly encourage you not to include such costs in your application because it most likely will not be approved. And also, I think that you will probably find some other needs in your needs assessment that have to be done first. In my experience, a lot of people say, oh, we need to get our building, you know, accessible. And we've even had grantees that have done this, that have, you know, had the ramp and had an accessible room, but individuals with disabilities and deaf individuals weren't coming up because they didn't have the other pieces that wanted people with disabilities in order to come and receive services from you. And
Right.
so I think part of it is about sequencing, and that is what this grant will do.
Thank you. So I think what I understood from you is the minor renovations. I understand that now. But I did hear from you. Please confirm that it'd be better for me to allocate accommodation funds after the strategic plan has been made, unless accommodations are needed for the main partners that are part of the needs assessment development. Is that correct?
the main partners, but you have to have some funds for accommodation. So you should have some idea about what type of disability you want to focus on. So are you focusing on deaf individuals? Are you focusing on individuals with physical disabilities? Are you focusing on people with intellectual disabilities? You know, there are accommodations that are not considered minor renovations that are going to be applicable to the population that you determine you're going to focus on. And so that's why I was saying it is super important for the partners to speak to one another to get an idea about what types of accommodations might be needed. And that you can always do a budget modification later.
Thank you so much. I have a better understanding. Thank you very much.
Sure. No, it's complicated. And Kara, Jaya have their hand up.
Yeah, so I just had a question going back to the compensation for leadership involvement. I was hoping you could speak a little bit to how that works with the prohibition on supplanting. You know, if folks are working on budgets for FY24 and we, you know, might not know in terms of whether or not an application has been accepted. If you could just kind of talk about how that works a little bit.
I'm going to guess what she's saying, if that's okay, Amy. As I understand it, my level, I think I've heard this before. So for example, if you have a director of an organization that's fully funded elsewhere and you're applying for this, you don't want to be in a place where you're supplanting. But
Right.
if you got this grant and we need them to spend 10 hours a week or 10 hours a month, I can't remember, I may be overspeaking the time commitment, the 10 hours a month, the 10 hours, and now they're going to be taking like, you know, 5-10% of their time on this grant, you would then have to reduce their times on other grants.
Correct.
Right. So that's not supplanting because they're now being funded. They're doing, we're not taking away from their other activities. It's a whole new activity they're doing.
I see. So just clarifying, you know,
Adjust.
for other funders that person's time was being allocated differently.
Right.
And so
And
that
if you got other federal funding, there should be, most of us have conditions that say like, if you get additional funding after you get the original grant, you have to modify. Like we know over 3 years, so your funding sources change
Right.
throughout the whole period. And so it's your responsibility to report and shift around
Sure.
and then charge for like, you know, now that you're doing this grant, 10% here, now they're going down to 90% somewhere else.
Right. Okay. That's very helpful. Thank you.
I mean, you got another question from, is it Maureen?
There, yep, for a continuation project, is the expectation for the compensation to be equal for all the partners since we are in implementation? Carol, would you like to take that one?
Yes.
Would you like
I mean,
to-
the answer is yes. So the expectation is you're still working as a complete collaboration and partnership. It may be a little different in terms of how it feels, but you're still equally working and equally compensated. Unless I'm missing something and there's a reason why this would change, I don't know why.
Correct.
I feel like I'm being tested. And then Jaya, do you have your hand up again?
No, I forgot to put it down. Sorry.
All
Thanks,
right,
Maureen.
go ahead, Kara.
Okay, let's find out where it was again. Oh, now we're gonna go into financial management. This is a little dry, so bear with me. It's important information. Okay, in the next few slides, I'm going to focus on aspects of your application that relate to the documents that our financial team, called the Grants Financial Management Division, GFMD, reviews. More specifically, I'll discuss some items that GFMD has identified from prior year applications that could help expedite the review process. First, I'll highlight the items identified in the summary data sheet, which is completed by all applicants and uploaded in Just Grants. This is a list of questions included that appears in the solicitation for you to go over. Applicants will go and answer all those questions and upload the responses to these questions in Just Grants. There are specifically 3 items that we'd like to discuss here, and they're related to the nonprofit requirement. It's the single audit response and the IRS 3-step safe harbor procedure. If you are applying as a nonprofit organization, you are required to submit a determination letter from the IRS recognizing your tax exempt status. OVW cannot make an award to any nonprofit that does not submit a 501c3 determination letter. We highlight this specifically because applicants are not including this as part of their application, and this delays our review. Please ensure that you are uploaded to include this document if applicable. OVW requests that all applicants provide a statement as to whether they've expended $750,000 or more in federal funds during the last fiscal year. If you have, then you indicate that and also specify the end date of your last fiscal year. Another item we'd like to highlight from the solicitation is specifically for nonprofit organizations, and it is if you use the IRS 3-step safe harbor procedure to determine your executive compensation. If you do, you're required to provide a disclosure letter. The solicitation itself provides further details on these and a link to sample letter. Note that these are required parts of there are 4 parts to the disclosure for the IRS 3-step safe harbor procedure. The sample letter provides an outline for all these parts of the disclosure. So please follow along the sample and provide a response to each of the 4 pieces. The next item I'd like to discuss is the pre-award risk assessment, which assists our grants and finance team during the pre-award risk assessment review of all applications. Each applicant must prepare a response to all 11 questions, and each question has multiple parts. It has been noticed that in prior years, applicants do not always fully answer all the parts to all the questions, which in turn requires our grants and finance team to reach out to the applicant and again, continues the delays in our funding decisions. Some of the most common issues that we've encountered have been, for example, question number 2, where the applicant indicates they do indeed have internal policies, but then they don't provide a list of what those policy topics are. On question number 3, for example, some applicants fail to provide a brief summary of the organization's process for tracking expenditures, and more specifically, whether or not it tracks budgeted versus actual expenditures. And these are just a few examples, but in general, the message what I'm trying to relay here is please make sure that you read each piece of each question and provide full responses to every single aspect. This slide highlights some of the resources available as you're creating your budget to be submitted on your application. Over the last couple of years, GFMD has developed a detailed webinar presentation on how to develop a budget to be submitted with OVW applications. This presentation addresses some of the challenges you may face with your budgets and provides insight on OVW's budget review process. And this webinar can be found at the link provided on this slide. Additionally, Just Grants has resources on completing the web-based, completing budgets and Just Grants. And there's information about the uniform guidance, which can be found at 2 CFR 200. Use your favorite search engine to find this, but the link is also provided here. Other resources include the DOJ Financial Guide and the solicitation itself. We know this is a lot of information for this to process. So if you have questions about the financial slides I've just referenced, you can contact our GFMD help desk directly at the number and email listed here. That was very quick, but I want to stop real fast to see if there's any questions about the finance parts I just discussed. And then next I'll go over how to apply. Okay, to submit an application, all applicants must obtain a unique entity identifier, a UEI number, and register online with the System for Award Management, or SAM, and with grants.gov. To ensure sufficient time to complete the registration process, applicants must obtain the UEI number and register online with SAM and grants.gov. And I'm sorry, this slide has a mistake where it says done, it should say UEI. But you must obtain the UEI number and register with SAM.gov immediately. I cannot stress this enough. If you have not done this yet, please start today. This allows for the any issues that may arise to be resolved in a timely manner because the registration process can take several weeks. If you do have issues with SAM or grants.gov, keep persisting, keep all documentation, and keep OVW updated. And then there's the application process itself. This is a 2-step process. Applications are submitted first by going into grants.gov and submitting 2 forms. One is the SF 424 and one is called the SF LLL. Again, these are just 2 forms that you have to go in and submit in grants.gov, and the deadline to do that is no later than March 6, 2023 at 11:59 p.m. But I highly encourage you to just go ahead and do that today You don't even have to fit, this is not obligating you to keep going, but just getting those 2 forms in and getting this account set up will then generate your account for the final submission of your full application. Whether you decide to go forward or not, at least you know that part is done. So again, it's a 2-step process. It starts with grants.gov. We only submit these first 2 forms. With the latest you can do that is March 6th at midnight, 11:59 p.m. Then you submit your full application, including all attachments, in the DOJ Just Grant system. This is where you will upload and submit the proposal narrative we talked about, the budget we talked about, and the MOU. And as mentioned just earlier when I talked about the financial management part, there's a summary data sheet and a pre-award or risk assessment. These 2 additional documents are actually submitted in the same section with the proposal narrative. It could be a little tricky, so I just want to make sure you understand that when you go into Just Grants, there's a section that says proposal narrative, and in that section you will actually have a prompt to submit the pre-award risk assessment and summary data sheet, and then your proposal narrative. And then there's a separate section where you will upload and submit your budget, and a separate section where you upload and submit the memorandum of understanding. Again, it can be a little tricky as it sounds, so we highly encourage you to start as early as possible and to start the process no later than 48 hours before the deadline. And the deadline itself to get everything in is March 9th at 9 p.m. I want to point out this is 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I can't say it enough. Applicants are highly encouraged to submit applicants 24 to 48 hours prior to these deadlines and to submit them as early as possible if you're ready. If you need technical assistance with these systems, again, grants.gov is an outside system that we do not have any control over. The help desk can be reached by phone or email at the information provided on this slide. Or if you have problems with the Just Grant system, the DOJ Just Grant system, you can contact the OVW Just Grant support at the number and email provided. Again, anticipating there may actually be issues, please start early. That way, when they come up, you have time to reach out and get this worked out. Again, if you also submit it within 24 or 48 hours before the deadlines, you will then receive an email confirming everything has been submitted and feel comfortable that you're in on time. And then just for some other information at the end, the last page of the solicitation, the checklist outlines all the documents that you'll have to submit in the end. Please review this checklist. All applications undergo a review. Applications deemed eligible and complete and meet all the requirements will move forward to an external peer review. And then after that, they will undergo an internal programmatic review by OVW. It is anticipated that all applicants will be notified of the outcomes of their applications by October 1st, 2023. And please know that as much as you may want to know before then, we can't share information before that date. Oh, here you go. This is great. I'm sorry, I didn't know I had this on here. Again, this is our contact information. The program email box is the ovw.disabilities email. And then my name again is Kara Mahler. Feel free to just write me directly, to ask me your questions if that's easier and maybe more direct. As the solicitation is open, I can answer questions about clarifications. I can't answer whether something is good or bad, but I can answer whether something's allowable, whether you're understanding the solicitation. So please, I encourage you to reach out if you have any questions, because we really want you to apply. I don't want you discouraged, I want you excited. So I hope you're interested in the program. And this is it. This is the last one. So if you have any lingering questions, we're open for more questions right now. And again, I'm going to put this in the chat box. If you want a copy of these slides with all the information, that's the email for the program. And then this is my direct email.
There's one in there, Kara. It's we will have to complete step 1 before we can start step 2 of the application. Just checking.
Yes, that's exact. I'm sorry, I should have made. I'm going to redo my script for next year and make that clearer. But yes, it's a 2-step process where the first step has to be completed, and that creates the access to the second process.
Yep. And I would say it sounds like a lot and it sounds scary and the program is very different, but honestly, the level of technical assistance that you receive is like it guides you through every process. You are carried through everything. So it really is doable. You are not out there on your own.
Yeah, we OVW and the technical assistance provider truly sit with you and help you. Like, we're here to make you successful. We're here to support you and guide you and support you as you're moving forward. And organizations that have gone through this process truly come back and tell us how transformative it was. So I really hope that you stick with it and move forward. We really want to see your applications.
And for those of you that had really specific questions, I hope to hear from you so that we can help you suss those out.
On that note, I think we're going to close this webinar out. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.